People were like literally touching my feet and saying, just save us.
I do feel bad when I see people roaming around without masks.
Since 19th March 2020, the dentist's life in India and worldwide has changed a lot.
I remember when I was sitting in the car, I was just thinking that I'm actually going for war.
So this disease can take a turn towards being worse at any time.
It is not comfortable wearing PPE kits. There is a lot of sweating which happens, especially with the absence of air conditioning.
No hospital beds and no this. It's true. Patients have been harrowed.
Hi, my name is Dr. Ami Thakkar Nautiyal.
Hi, my name is Dr. Resham Shah.
Hi, my name is Dr. Vidit Shah.
I'm Dr. Simran Meerpuri.
It was in March that the government notified about the COVID situation. We were told by our HOD, Dr. Vijay Shetty, that we might have to give our contribution towards the critical care department in helping them deal with COVID patients along with our non-COVID emergencies.
See, before the lockdown, I was like a real chilling. Like when patients came, they used to sit, chat, they used to tell their problems, chai upar charcha types.
It has been 4 months that I've been working in the front line. My shift schedules are 12-hourly daily and it is alternately day and night. We get a holiday once a week.
COVID has been testing times for the dentist because we work in a close proximity with the patient's mouth. There is a transmission of droplet infection.
I have never closed my clinic out of fear or whatever. Right throughout my entire COVID period, like from 23rd March, religiously going to the clinic. Whenever we've had bomb blasts or anything like that, I have always kept my clinic open as an essential service.
We had to judge and analyze each and every patient. Which patient should walk in the OPD, which patient we can make the patient wait.
But once the lockdown and once my clinic, I wanted limited time. I didn't want to really spend a lot of time in the clinic, just treat, go, finished. But a lot of counseling was needed, I must say, because there was a lot of panic I saw in March and April. It was sad. People were like literally touching my feet and saying, just save us. And that feeling, was like, oh my God.
We consider each and every patient as a family. It became very difficult and awkward for us to just turn away the patient.
Yes, we were doing isolation for 7 days initially, and when we worked in the COVID ICU for 7 days. But now the protocol is working in the ICU for 4 days and isolation for 3 days.
Once we enter the hospital, we get into our scrubs. Then eventually we get into our PPE kits and then go to the patient room, examine them, do necessary procedures if required, see all the patients, and once we're done with that, we go out and remove and properly dock off our PPE kits.
We have been trying to eat foods which are high in protein and minerals and zinc. We have been exercising almost for half an hour to 1 hour daily, and it is a lifestyle modification that is anyways required for a normal living. We have been provided with boarding when we are on COVID ICU duties. We also have been provided with food on call and dedicated bus for staff for traveling to and fro from our houses.
Right now, I just work with the 10% of the total staff. My staff also gets regularly checked.
It does get tiring at times, and we do feel bad when we see people roaming around casually, not wearing masks.
I feel those who are taking it casually either have not lost their near and dear ones. They don't know what happens when you get it, and they are absolutely selfish or ignorant and totally below IQ. I mean, absolutely very self-centered. I can't understand a person not wearing a mask. I mean, that's absolutely a no-no. This mask is going to be an accessory for life, I think.
We have 2 ICUs and 1 COVID ward, one which has around 20 odd beds, which takes care of critical patients. There is a step-down ICU in which patients are shifted before shifting them to the ward, which has around 18 beds, and we also have ward beds which are around 50 to 60. which take care of patients who do not require critical care.
I have a big clinic, so I have a waiting room, I have my examination, and I have another 2 beds where I could put the salines and all, and I have cross ventilation stuff. The fan was enough for us even in May, but I never put the AC on, however hot. I don't like an AC when a lot of patients around or whatever. But this is my practical experience that in an AC, you can get the disease faster.
First, we filter out the patient via telephonic consultation. I take a detailed history of the patient if he has any symptoms of fever, chills. If the pain or the situation is not severe, medical prescription is given. At the reception counter, temperature and the pulse oximeter reading is also taken. The patient is given sanitizer and all the patient's belongings are kept in a UVC box. The patient is requested not to get any relatives along unless the patient is not in condition to travel alone.
Fever patients initially, at least I think till end of March, I was not entertaining because we didn't know where we were going, where I have to examine a newborn, I have to examine a pregnant lady. Only those were entertained first. Of course, we had told everyone that whatever your symptoms you tell us and we will give you the medicine. I have my compounder, my assistant, she's there since a long time. I asked her actually the first 2 days, I said, do you want to keep it open all 6 days or should we just come alternate? Whatever you're comfortable, because if she's not there, I can't work. So she said, no ma'am, what is there? Chalo karte hain. I said, theek hai, challenge le lete hain.
I think at some phase of lockdown, authorities could smoothen the travel burden on healthcare workers, not just healthcare workers, all essential workers. Now with the suburban trains running, I think it has been easier to travel. However, it is the security of healthcare workers at government hospitals which should be particularly taken care of.
We are not covered by the government. We are daily wagers actually. We go and we earn. But tomorrow if I am in hospital for 23 days, we are paying taxes throughout and we're not getting anything in return like in abroad. Abroad you have a fixed income after 60. And as doctors, I'm telling you, while I'm working, what is the insurance they're giving us? Have they even offered us anything? No. Like a simple PPE kit, we are buying on our own. We're doing everything on a temperature gun I've bought on my own. The oximeter I bought for what? So that I have to also protect myself along with my patients, right? A lot of my friends, a lot of our doctors have just died fighting 20 days, 23 days. Yesterday, in fact, one pulmonary physician told me, ma'am, I'm sending you more PPE kits you have to wear. I said, but you're there, no? If anything happens to me, he's saying, no. It's a bad situation. Doctors are really getting the brunt of it.
Primary care is given to all patients who come to the hospital. However, sometimes due to lack of beds, it is possible that a patient might be referred to another center for treatment. We do wear PPE kits. They are disposed at the end of the day. We get a yellow colored bag or a black colored bag inside the PPE kits in which the PPE kit is disposed of. We wear N95 masks when we go to see patients in the wards. We also wear shields and a protective gown. We are not allowed to carry phones inside the COVID ward because they can act as a source of infection. The COVID wards do have their own phones through which we can communicate whenever required.
We've made our own solution. We used to make Dettol and water. Then we had bleaching powder and water. Then we had some sanitizers also. So anything we would get, we would always, before we start our clinic, we would sanitize it ourselves. How do we sanitize? Whom do we call for sanitize? I think in mid-May, I was asking for a PPE kit, but I didn't get. I have one in my clinic because I think it's disposable. So I've just kept it for emergency. But whatever I wear to the clinic, that outfit is kept for 24 hours in the sun and all that, and then washed and all that.
Between two appointments, we keep at least a gap of 1 hour. Entire sterilization and disinfection process is carried out.
Working in a PPE kit can be slightly suffocating initially, but later on, as you get used to it, you find it less cumbersome. Wearing an N95 mask inside a PPE kit does give a headache because of rebreathing. The shield that you have to wear on the PPE kit, it decreases the clarity of your vision. You cannot wear it for more than 6 hours at a time because you become exhausted. You cannot remove it. You cannot take care of your ablutions. That is why you have to take a break after 6 hours at least once so that you can either change the PPE and come back. You have to wash your hair and you have to have a bath every time you remove a PPE kit. When you have periods and you have to do COVID duty in that PPE, yeah, it does get uncomfortable at times also. But we have been used to long working hours and we also have been used to doing on-call duties. So these problems do not bother us much now.
When I hear the history of the patient and I see the temperature and see the oximeter, all that is okay, then I'm a little relaxed. Still, the virus has not yet entered. I have to trust my immunity.
The virus does impact you. We do get worried about our families, our close ones. As doctors, it is sort of imbibed in us now that social distancing has to be maintained at all times. Most of our meetings and most of our discussions are done on Skype or online.
I keep them at about 3 to 5 feet away. When they come on the examination bed also, I'm a little away and I tell them to look the other side when I'm auscultating their chest.
Family is very supportive. They do get scared but never express it. Even we get scared that we might infect our close ones, but we do not let these things come in way of what we have signed for when we entered into this profession. With all the negativity that is going around, we do not talk about these things much.
Once I'm home, I try to avoid having meals together with my family members. I try to maintain social distancing norm at home as well, so that I don't infect them and give them the disease in case if I have one.
Now my daughter-in-law, she was paranoid. So she was the one who was really like, Mom, please don't go now, please stay at home and all. But my son, he would say, Mom, just take precautions. They're not really scared if you ask me, no. But they're more careful. We have these sessions. Okay, come on. Tell us all the COVID. So what is it? I sort of tell them very interesting cases. There was this patient, about 50-year-old. His mother is about 75. That was one of our first COVID patients. It was about mid-April. They had called me for a house visit. He had not left his house and all that. So I had gone with all my precautionary measures. After about 7-8 days, his condition started deteriorating a lot. There was a time where I told the mother, I need an MRI of his spine and he needs to be admitted now, because I thought he was non-COVID. But still, I had insisted on the mother. That poor mother single-handedly took him for the MRI. She took him to a particular hospital who checked his oxygen. It was 83. They said, we can't admit because we don't have ICU. The MRI was done. Again, we tried ringing up a few hospitals, but there was of no use. Then she got him with his friends to the clinic. He was totally in a very bad shape, like totally delirious. So I told the mother, I will not be able to help you. You'll have to take him to the hospital. We tried ringing up everywhere. Believe you me, we tried everywhere. Then we put a saline and all. The oxygen did come to 93, 94, which was a little better. Now I knew he could still wait till the beds were available. We got an assurance that he will get a bed a little far away. We are South Bombay, right? So little Juhu and all that. So the moment they left the clinic and I sat and I just took my breath, that is the time my compounder said that, doctor, if anything happens to me, आप मेरे बच्चों को तो देख लेंगे, no? So that is the first time I saw my compounder actually breaking down, like I said, I am going to take full responsibility of it. I'm not going to let anything happen to you.
Initially, I had kept a hired car, but now I use the public transport, which is suburban locals. I have an ID card which is used as a pass.
I don't think doctors need permission, but I didn't go for any permission and all of that. Because when I had kept my clinic open, there were no doctors who had that clinics open, at least around my area, where we are about 10 of us.
To all the citizens out there, I would like to say, please do not get scared. Government authorities and healthcare workers and all essential workers are doing their bit. You should do your bit too. Stay indoors, eat healthy, stay safe.
If you have any symptoms of COVID, such as fever, cough, cold, do not do home remedy measures. Consult your doctor and reach them immediately.
I hope everyone starts getting into line about personal hygiene, carrying a tissue, carrying a sanitizer, or at least washing hands, which we've been taught in nursery, right? All that was forgotten. COVID has done its duty.
Even though we did not want to be apart from each other, we had to.
I also feel that people in India are very unaware of how serious this is.
ये देखिए, ये है मेरा रूम, ये किचन है।
हमने कोई सेफ फील नहीं कर रहे हैं, आप लोगों के साथ कुछ भी नहीं।